If you are presenting scientific research and if you are passionate about it and you know how important it is, your research will help fix the problem.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Richard Baker, founder of Collective Responsibility, here today with another episode of Sustainable Ambassador Podcast. In this episode, I'm joined by Salisa Traipipitsiriwat, who is a senior campaigner and Southeast Asia plastic projects manager at the Environmental Justice Foundation. At the foundation, she's leading the Net Free Seas project, a project that promotes the incentivization approaches to encouraging the collection and cleaning of discarded fishing nets from small-scale fishing communities and subsequently to the recycling of those collected materials through recycling factories based in Thailand. Welcome to the Sustainable Ambassador Podcast. It's really great to have you here to talk about the work that you're doing, the insights that you have, but also the career that you are starting on.
Hi, Rich. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Salisa Traipipitsiriwat. I am a senior campaigner and I also oversee plastics project for Environmental Justice Foundation. So, what I do every day is just, to set some goals to combat plastic pollution and just try to reach it. Basically, that's what I do every day.
So what's the size of the problem in Thailand when it comes to plastics, and how do you see your career solving all or part of that problem?
So the problem is definitely huge. It is a long way to go, but I think there's some good signs as well. Even like governmental agencies, businesses, and civil societies. A lot more are joining together to work on it. But it's not easy. We're trying to be like the focal point when we want to especially bring the voices of those who are impacted most by plastic pollution, like fishing communities, those who are living in at the front line of plastic pollution to the table. Because without their voices, then it's going to be difficult to come up with an effective and also practical solutions.
Plastic's a huge issue. What's the size of this issue in Thailand, and how is it impacting these fishing communities?
So whenever I go to communities, I always hear like fishers complaining that, oh, right now when we go out, we don't really get fish anymore. We just get plastics and marine litter. And also, there are communities in Thailand still lack even traditional waste management system. So during monsoon season, there will be, monsoon garbage coming in, and they also, if they want to keep their front yard clean, then they will have to like pick them up by themselves at their own cost. So this is something that, is impacting these communities already because they are at the front line.
When did this become your issue, and when or why did you make it a career?
For me, it was quite a difficult journey. It was quite confusing as well because, the education that I received when I was young was not it was not the best. So, the topics and like the words like human rights, sustainability, and things like that were not on the syllabus. So it was quite difficult for me to figure out what I was like really passionate about. But I think it's the little things, that I was interested in when I was a kid, like in the environment, in wildlife, in animals, that, kind of like paved me the way to the self-realization and also the people that I actually get to meet along the way as well. All these little things just come together. But I think one thing that is like very important is that if you're passionate about something, just stick to it. And it will give you the energy to go talk to people, to find the answer. Yeah, so that's those little steps lead me to today and who I am today as well. Yeah.
So what were you doing to get into the career path? I noticed that you had a number of internships, you had a bit of a study, but you didn't specialize in, say, sustainability.
I think the most important thing is that if you don't have the qualification, if you're like, the qualification doesn't say you're like, you're majoring in sustainability, it is very important that you build your network and you try to make yourself seen. And so I join events, and I go to where I think the people who work in sustainability will be. Also at the same time look for a permanent job that will open door for me to go into this sector. And once you get into the space, I think with, with the passion, with your commitment to what you want to do, then that's when, it just skyrocket.
And how important were your fellowships and internships beforehand?
So important, I would say. So important. First internship that I did, I was working with women from communities where there's no electricity, and they were there to be trained to become solar mamas. So like to be able to do solar panels, so that when they go back to the communities, they will be the one electrifying the community. So and that's actually the starting point where I know that like how awesome local people are, and how much they know how to solve problems. But that is like the first step where I step into that arena, and I am 100% sure that these are the people who I want to learn from. So that internship in India is the one that inspires me to know that, okay, at least, the job that I'm looking for will have to be involved with working with local communities.
Did you consider, corporate, academic, nonprofit kind of, or were you initially drawn to the nonprofit sector as your first medium?
For me, corporate, I'm not really drawn to, because I already have experience working in corporate, and I know that maybe, it doesn't really fit what I am looking for. Governmental, I think governmental is 50-50, but also like meeting people working in a nonprofit sector, something that I feel that would fit with me is that it is quite goal-oriented and also flexible at the same time. I think that is very important, because I think I do well with improvisation. That's what I thought. Maybe it's not true, but maybe working with corporate and in governmental agencies, there will be some structure that I have to follow. But for me, I feel like I work so much better with flexibility. So that's why I was drawn to the nonprofit sector more than the other.
What's the reality? Like, is working in a nonprofit flexible? Is it more engaging? Can you be an activist, or do you still see some constraints? And are you happy with your decision?
I am very happy with my decision, I would say. I think whatever I have, envisioned that I will be will meet when I work in the nonprofit sector, I get that working here. I'm not sure if it's because of EJF or is it, normal across the board, but it is flexible. We get to be part of the planning. We really get to express, what we want to do. We can also include our passion into, the KPI, and the goal can be quite ambitious as well. Like, for example, in plastic pollution, that's such an ambitious goal. So, but I think having that ambitious goal leaves so much room for creativity. And I think that is the part I enjoy the most. I can, inform my team what I want and which route I want to take to get there. But also my team will have the same opportunity. And it's just like, when you go to work, it's like being on a panel discussion all the time, people throwing in ideas, and then we just, okay, this is what we agree on, let's do it. So I am very happy with my decision.
Talk to me about what's the job that you do as a campaigner around plastics, and what are some of the key things that you're doing on a daily basis, or stakeholders that you're engaging, or tools that you use to drive influence?
Yes. So different NGOs will have like different strategies, and also campaigners will have their own strategies. But for me, I think what works really well is to use pilot solutions. I think that's when you get evidence, you get insights, you get all the data that not only you need, but also the government agencies who can be your partners, and also for corporate who can also be your partners to help you sustain the project or the solution that you're trying to implement. To me, I feel like that is more tangible, because we have a set of knowledge. we give it to someone, and then that is practically can be used. So pilot solution to inform high level advocacy, that is the strategy that I and my team often use.
Now, when we think of campaigner, I often think of, young people out there with, big banners and telling the world that like it's all going to burn up. But who are you interfacing with? Like, I'm sure there's a public element, but is there something going behind the scenes with policy regulators and companies and, other institutions that are just like, this is what we're finding and this is what I want you to know? Like, is that your job as a campaigner, or is it to go stand out in front of the government office and be like, vote for something different, we need something different? Like, what?
There's some issues where, like closed door meetings are not enough. So I think, standing and make it heard publicly is also very important. But also at the same time, I feel like giving genuine recommendations and also the knowledge that we have gathered from our work as part of the team with the people who are trying to advocate is also important, I think.
So when you think about the last 3 years, what are the things that you take away from this time? Like, these are the most valuable 2 or 3 things from this time.
For me, the first thing that I learned a lot from being a campaigner is that you can't really do it alone. It is very important to learn from your team, learn from the people you meet, and try to see what is the value in you that you can, provide. I think it's just very important to identify where you can chip in, and then do that together with other people. But also, one thing that I learned is to not be too hard on yourself as well, because I think working in this space is we're looking at changing something for the better. So I think it doesn't it is not important that the change maker is you, but it is important that in the future we drive positive change, and you're part of it.
But if there's 3 things that you, let's just say, learned how to do better, you're a fresh graduate. What are some practical tools that you learned along the way?
I think the first tool that is very important is to learn your audience, because as campaigners, you are the speaker, right? And what I learned is that it is very important to be able to speak to the right audience, or say something that you think the audience would like to hear or needed to hear.
When it comes to knowing your audience, I often find a lot of young professionals, they get a little bit frustrated because their voices aren't being heard. You have a great idea, you have a great plan, but they're like, look, you don't know yet. How do you adjust to that? How do you fight that? How do you prove that you have the value?
One thing that I do, and I think it persuades people to look beyond my age, I would say, is how you build your expertise over time. When there's questions and you can answer with, facts, scientific data, and also be well-rounded. If you prepare before you enter a meeting room, there's 99% success rate already. But at the end of the day, I think people just want to talk with someone who is real, passionate about the issue, and also try to dig into information from different dimensions.
What kind of preparations would you do? Would you try and learn about the person that you're meeting with? Do you try and think of the questions or the points that they're going to make, and then how you're going to respond back?
Profiling is very important, obviously, to know where the person is coming from, how they approach the issue that we are both trying to solve. And I do that a lot, where you said, I think of questions that I might get, and I will prepare some answers. But during the meeting is also very important. Asking them questions and allowing them to speak first. That means you have a chance to listen to them, and also to verify if what you have assumed that they are is true. From there, if you have enough background knowledge, you have enough data, you have enough information that you prepared for the meeting, for the topic, you will automatically know which data set you will pick up to use and talk to that person.
In these meetings, what's the role of passion for the problem? Like, can you push an emotional appeal, or do you find like in those kind of contexts that, look, remove the emotion, don't talk about the issue and like try and push them that way, push them through data, facts, and just answering the questions to get a little bit further?
Personally, I think it is very important that passion is always there. Because when you talk to someone, even though they are just telling you scientific data, or like are informing you about some figures, but if you see the sparkles in the eyes of the presenter, I think it makes a huge difference. So if you are presenting scientific research, and if you are passionate about it and you know how important it is, your research will help fix the problem.
If you were to stay within this organization, what's the next step in your career? Like, what's the next promotion look like? And how do you get ready for that?
Just to be honest, I don't really think about like the next step promotion or anything, but my goal working with this organization is the goal that I set to fix one problem. So I have an end goal in plastic pollution. Next year, what do I want to do to get one step closer to what I envision? Because I'm so glad I can say that I'm being paid to do what I actually want to do. And I think when you are in the right organization, they will recognize you, and they will be the one who inform you about your next step. So if you make change, I think it's very easy for people to recognize that, and then you will just go step further.
What advice would you give to someone who is 3 years younger than you, just coming out of school? They see a future career in solving these problems. What are 2 or 3 pieces of advice you'd give them as they start that process?
So I think it is very important to first know what you're good at. If you're good at data research, then maybe you can do research for sustainability. Second, go to events space, try to figure out like which layers of sustainability or the sector you want to be in. And then I think from there you will see clearer, and don't be too hard on yourself. It's not going to come in one day. It's not going to be like, oh, I go to this event and now I know what I want to do with life. It's not going to be like that. And it's okay to do to do different things, because I think you learn some things from everything that you do. That will make you who you are in the future, and everything will help you to achieve what you want.